What if I told you the one thing that finally unlocked my bounce recently wasn't more jumping, not more plyos, not more lifts, but something I had actually stopped doing for quite a while until now, until recently, the past few weeks. And my vertical was stuck for a little while, for a few months. But when I added this back in, everything changed again. I got way faster, way more explosive. I had a few of my highest jumps ever yesterday, despite being in a huge fatigue hole, which is very interesting. Now, prior to starting this, I was doing and trialing and testing because I like to test stuff and I like to experiment with things quite often to see what works, what doesn't. And I was doing plyometrics for quite a few months, like extensive ones, intensive ones, pretty much everything, the whole spectrum. And I wanted to see what would happen doing that and how my body would respond, and essentially cutting out sprinting from my training and only jumping, only doing plyometrics and just lifting. And the plyometrics I was doing, like you saw me do them, Tom. Like, what was I doing?
This is the ones like a month ago, right? Or like a little bit over a month
Yeah,
ago.
months ago, months ago.
I'm not gonna say like where they were from because they're not bad plyometrics. But yeah,
No, no.
they were just like a mixture of intensive and extensive. Mainly, I'd say I'm trying not to use the same like wording as the system uses. But yeah, he was doing like plyometrics. Let's just say like I don't know, alternating leg bounds like that after his dunk sessions, right? From memory.
Yeah, I was doing a range of stuff. I was doing more ankle dominant pliers with quick ground contact times that were more submaximal. I was doing more intensive leaves, like bounds. I was doing everything, really. But what I found through that was my vertical actually didn't really improve at all through that period, and I ended up getting slower, which is kind of
Yeah.
interesting. Um, because I've done plyometrics before, however, the volumes weren't as high and like I've done all right with them, but I think there was other underlying reasons as to why I improved while still doing them. But yeah, the plyometrics I was doing pretty much just everything. Like the volumes were pretty high, I'm not gonna lie, and I was building up or it was beating up my body quite a lot. Like my joints were hurting. I was getting like cartilage pain. I didn't really get any tendon pain, which is weird. I don't know. My tendons seem to be pretty good right now, but I was getting like cartilage pain and I wasn't jumping higher and things just were not going well. And that's where I just made the shift to, I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to start sprinting again and slowly introduce it. And since then, my vertical has very slowly been getting better and better every week. And it's not even like because it's less intense, my body was getting more fresh or anything like that. The intensities of the sprinting are actually higher than what the plyometrics were. It's just that sprinting is so much more potent and it's one of the
Yeah.
most potent exercises to get more explosive, to get faster. There's just literally nothing like it. And for someone like myself that is a slower athlete, it works miracles and it works wonders for myself. And we've found this with our athletes as well. Anyone that's slow and has
Mm-hmm.
no natural speed at all, the minute we get them sprinting, like their vertical shoots up.
Yeah, it feels like a non-negotiable, especially for the slower guys. Unless in the case of like an injury or like a flare up or whatever, you should almost just be doing it year round. To be honest.
Yeah, to be honest, sprinting, if you're slow or naturally slow, like you're one of those big, slow guys like myself, sprinting should just never lead the program for you. Unless
Yeah.
you're in Europe and it's literally snowing outside and you have no other option other than to do plyometrics. That's a different story. But if you can sprint and you have like if you have a street outside your house that you can sprint on, you should be sprinting if you fit that archetype. Now, for someone like you, Tom, you can kind of get away with not sprinting because you're naturally a bit of a faster guy.
Yeah. But definitely, I don't think I should not do it ever. I think it still has its role, but yeah, not to the same extent you do. And also, yeah, like you said, if you have snow or whatever, you can't go outside and sprint. Find somewhere indoors, a basketball court, run it diagonally. You got to get like 30, 40 meters out. If it's a relatively decently sized stadium, like you should be able to get
Yeah,
some level of sprinting in, make it work.
exactly. Now, like the reason sprinting's so much more potent and it's so potent and so effective at getting someone more explosive, it's because you're undergoing like 5 to 6 times body weight through each leg when you're sprinting. You know, you gotta it requires a high amount of stiffness through the Achilles, the ankle, your tendons. There's so much force going through your body. It takes
Yeah.
coordination as well. It takes quite a lot of coordination to sprint fast, and you get a lot of tendon adaptation from that through the forces you're undergoing and just the ground contact times being so quick as well. And it conditions your nervous system too to output force more quickly like nothing else as well, especially when you're starting to reach higher velocities, even in the acceleration as well. And it does it in a way where it's low impact on your knees, so it doesn't really interfere with jump sessions too much. With doing plyometrics, that's one thing I found with them is it
Yeah.
100% without a doubt interfered with jump sessions because they load the knee more so than what sprinting does in a way that 100% took away from my jump session quality.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, so like pliers are like they're a good thing for mechanics, but sprinting it's just honestly a game changer. Like even with quicker ground contact pliers, the ground contact times, even though they're still fast and you can get similar benefits from them, they still don't compare to sprinting in terms of the ground contact times. Even what I found was
Yeah.
quite a valuable tool is even just doing sub max, like quote unquote sprinting, it's more tempo runs. I've been doing a lot of that recently, and it's a really good way to build up volume in terms of the ground contacts throughout the week without stressing your nervous system a huge amount and without obviously interfering with your jump sessions. And the reason I bring that up is because volume is quite a heavy driver behind getting more quote unquote bringing tendons. So if you can do it in a way where you're building volume, where the ground contact times are insanely fast, and maybe they're not as fast as and intense if you're doing max effort sprints, like I'm only doing at like 80% right now, you're still getting a huge amount of benefits from them. And I see a huge amount of benefits from doing something like that as well. Because it also, because to run fast and to jump high, you got to have speed and aggression, but you got to do it in a relaxed way. So that's where I found doing sub-maximal work helps a lot to have that speed and aggression still, but stay relaxed, which I found actually transfers over to my jumps quite well because you're literally teaching your body to produce force fast, but to relax at the same time. Like I know when you've jumped your highest, Tom, like your jumps didn't feel forced or anything. You felt quite relaxed and natural and flowy through them, right?
Yeah. I feel like you should never, or maybe at the end of a dunk session when you're really tired, you kind of have to think like jump hard or push the ground hard. But when you're at your peak during a jump session, especially when you're deloaded, it should feel like it just happens naturally.
Yeah. One other thing as well I want to mention, you guys might seem to feel like, oh, we talk about sprinting a lot, and that's just because it's so important, and most people just do not do it or do enough of it because it's a little bit inconvenient to do. You got to go out somewhere, you got to kind of set it up, you got to do it, you got to have space to do it. But we're here to tell you and to remind you consistently, it's something that even though there is those inconveniences, the rewards are worth it. Every
Mhm.
time I move away from it, like this whole podcast is about, I always come back to it. I'm like, yeah, no, there's just nothing that compares to this. Like, there's just no plyometric that compares to this.
Yeah.
And I put a few posts out recently. Some of the most springy guys are sprinters. Some of the most elastic guys are professional sprinters. Like, you look at them, they just bounce off the ground like they're one of those like crazy like bouncy balls you can get from like a sports store. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the neural drive, the rate of force development, like the tendon adaptations you get from sprinting, there's just nothing. You just can't. You can somewhat get those benefits from plyometrics, but just not to the extent
Yeah.
of
It's not the
sprinting,
same.
especially
Yeah.
as you're going through those longer distances. So how I've been using it is just I've only been doing 20, 25 meters so far, and then obviously having those tempo runs in, and then over time I'm going to slowly make things more and more intense. But to close this podcast out for you guys, if you're not sprinting, you need to sprint, especially if you're a slow athlete. Like it's a non-negotiable. Even if you're doing plyos, start sprinting. Do it for a few months, and then ensure you're tapering, you're deloading, and you're managing your training properly, and you're putting it in your training properly. Guarantee if you're getting strong at the same time, you'll jump higher. But we hope this podcast helped you out, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Peace out, guys.